Back with that sheet. Okay, so basically we had looked at the psukim, and we saw l'chayr what it's about, and obviously the question is, what does the Balagad do with this? This is really quite problematic, because first of all, let's first see what the Balagad does. There's two shittas in Tanoim about this. So first of all, the Balagad is, it's a mechilta. It's a mechilta. So you have in page 2 the nusach of the Haggadah of associate base. Let's take it from there. If we remember what the psukim said, now let's see how this pans out. You have here the Ababanim, Baruch HaMakim Boshnas Teram Yisrael. Here's the Amay, the Yisrael Amay Baruch Hu Keneged Arabanim Dibur Torah Echad Chacham Echad Rosh Echad Tam Echad Sheni Elisha. If you notice, the Baruch Hu is only at the end. That's a girsa found in the Yerushalmi. Chacham Mahu Eimer. Ma Edis V'Chukma Mishpat Neshiv Hashem Lekenu Eschem. Yeah, this is the Ma'is of the Lashon of the Sifri. I'll read it from here if you don't mind. That's how it starts. Arba Abonim Heim. Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tam, Echad Shein De Elisha. Chacham Ma'omer Ma'is V'Chukma Mishpat Neshiv Hashem Lekenu Eschem. Or Oisanu, different girsas here. The girsa in Mechilta is Oisanu. But the Gra is Mitakin Eschem, makes it, that's where all your questions come from, right? So what can we do with the Gra? So he says, Afata Psach loy behilches ha-Pesach, em maftir nachar ha-Pesach hafi kaiman. Now, for goodness sakes, with greatest respect, the pasuk there is not even talking about Leil Pesach, and that's not what that question means. Anyone who reads the Chumash understands that question is a question on the time of Kabbalah Sotar and Mitzvahs, as we learned yesterday. So what's the Mechilta doing here exactly? And actually over there, it gives a very broad answer. It explains that God took us out of Egypt, Yad Chazaka, etc., in order to come to Eretz Yisrael and to do mitzvahs, and then it ends with Stakati Alanu, v'chulu, v'chulu, v'chulu. So why doesn't the Mechilta use that answer if he doesn't want to, what's wrong with that? How does Mechilta understand that? It gets worse. At the bottom in the Mechilta is a memor of Rebbe Eliezer. Rebbe Eliezer says, Minayin ha'to'im ha'shim ha'isa chabur she'chachamim o'i she'talmidim she'tzrichim la'asok behilches Pesach ad chatzois. Yeah. לקח נמר מוירס ולחוקו משפוט משסיב ושם כנו אסכה. This is what they done there, Mechilta. That what a kiyum din of got to the bincha that night is the part of the mitzvah sayoim. I would say not the agata, the mitzvah of once you sichim la'asrik doesn't mean der shayla tshuva. That means to say it's a gid of zocher shem as Mitzrayim, as we learned yesterday. The agata is sachakol a tzura. How to become Zacher Shem Zeshutzasam Mitzrayim. That is obvious. How do we know that? Because the Rambam, when it brings down the halacha, says the mitzvah is Zacher Shem Hazeh. Uminayin Shebelel Chamishosah. Because the place says V'yigat L'Bicha B'yema Uba V'urzeh B'sar Shemaz Matzu Mom Nochel Fanecha. So the Mechilta itself and the Rambam La'alach and Perek Zayin brings the mitzvah as Zacher. And how do we know the date from Vigata? Al-Kocha Vigata is nothing more than a tzura in the Zohar. Otherwise, if they're two separate mitzvahs, what would we have to do with the other? That's a B'yisa B'kutcha, okay? That's obvious. I sent you a mail with a copy of that thing, so there you have the Shuvah Sarush there. You can see it there, okay? But that's a Davar Pashit. So you have, what's the kiyum of Zohar? Part of that mitzvah of Zohar is Yom Hazeh. Is what? Is limit Hilchas HaPesach. But it's dafka din of ad chatzois. First made this ad chatzois. This goes according to the Ma'an that the Pesach is nechel only ad chatzois. The machlekes Rebbe Eliezer and Rebbe Kiva l'maisa whether Pesach is nechel ad chatzois or kol halayla. If you hold this ad chatzois, because that's the kiyum din also of Higat L'Bincha is also Zman HaPesach, which is ad chatzois. That's the halacha of ad chatzois. Okay. So this is the key in the mitzvah halayla is at chatzos, and learning these halachas are mitzvah halayla. In Tali b'chatzos, al kochach it's not a kiyum din in Talmud Torah ba'alma. This is a kiyum in the. It's not like this is the Torah you're supposed to learn. We didn't hilchas chag b'chag. It's a halacha of a kiyum din of zochas yem as Mitzrayim. Good, interesting halacha. Very good. Now I understand what they were doing all night over there at Shigeh, whether you think they were saying the Agada, what they were doing, we're talking Hilchas HaPesach, which according to that makes a lot of sense, and Rebbe Kiva L'Shitase, which Pesach is Nechla Ad HaBoker, so it's very good. Asher Damar Halacha Kemar, they were in Nebrak, so they did all. They say he was the Rav, he was the Mamor Asher of Nebrak, so they sat and they learned Hilchas Pesach. Vidas Hakiyum, what kind of halacha is this? What do we really think this is? And what do we learn from the pasuk of Ma'ez v'chukma mishpatim? Is that a drasha gemura? It's impossible because we know exactly what that pasuk is on. Pasuk is someone asking in the middle of this Elul, what's the reason we have a Kabbalah Sol mitzvahs? So what is this? It's not your go misha Torah and drashas bam. That can't be. There's no drasha here. It's misconstruing a pasuk. What are you doing here? So koch the Tanna Mechilta, this isn't a muck, it's an asmachta. It can't be anything more than that. A koch it's an asmachta. It means Kabbalah hayah biyadam, that this is also part of the Tzuras HaKiyum. Now how? Learning Hilchas what? Hilchas Chametz HaMatzah, the Kiyum Din. In the Pesach, the Tzarech and Gadol, right? The Pashas would be, yes, just as Allah of Kala Oisi B'Teres Oile Kilik Vayla, Pshat the Hemshech Din, since it is the Zman Achila of Korban Pesach, which Korban Pesach is Al Matzos U'Merorim Yochlu, Matzos U'Merorim, B'Zman HaPesach, are a Kiyum Din, they're not just a separate mitzvah, they're part of the Tzur V'Achilas HaPesach. We know that's L'maiseh, Matzah, Mor B'Zman Hazeh is only in Rabbanan. The only reason that Matzah B'Zman Hazeh is Machlek Zerbacha B'Yaakov and Rava. Where's Rabbanan or Deraisa? And if you learn this Deraisa, you hadrei kra. The pasuk, but there's an extra pasuk be'erev teichlu matzahs, except for the pasuk of tzliyesha matzahs amoreim yachlu. The Gemara in Kufchaf Berich in Psachim. But it's zichrei kiyum din in the tzur of Pesach, so we can understand there's a halacha. Part of the kiyum of a korban is learning the Torah of korban. That's the Gemara of Torah zois Torah sa'ila kol oisa b'Torah oila kilik of oila kol oisa b'Torah chatos kilik of chatos. The Maisa, the Chazal say specific on pasuk of Zosh Torah, which are written only by Karbanos. The Rishonim, which extended to Bechlal to other Tamiyah mitzvahs, but the stum of the mitzvah of the Gemaras is speaking strictly by Karbanos. So we understand that Torahs are Karbanos are part of the Hilchos Karbanos, a kiyum of the Karbanos. So I can understand a svara they had with Kabbalah b'yadam. Yes, you should learn Hilchos Chametz won't work. Hilchos Loisishchel Chametz Dam Zivchi won't work either because that's Zman Shchita. That happened to your Dalit. What happened by Baliil, it's all the halachas, achilas, matzah, umorah, and korban Pesach. Pesach doesn't mean halachas by your by your matzah. That's halacha in the shchita. You can't be sheikh that Pesach was not shechametz kayim. The achil is another din. So l'char, I can understand. That's what they had b'Kabbalah b'yadam, that this was a kiyum in the mitzvahs halayla. That's why it's only at chatzos. It's only at chatzos because it's a kiyum din l'char in the korban Pesach. Hypothetically, I can understand that, but there's nothing more than a smachta. There's no way that it's a din. So if this is to be truth, it has to have another source. So it's either that's the source, or they had some kind of Kabbalah b'yadam that halachas are also included the Zochas Yom Hazeh She'yitzatzim Mitzrayim. That's going to be much harder to say. Ha me'echitesi. Unless you can say the learning these halachas will somehow bring back, also enhance that memory She'yitzatzim Mitzrayim. It's possible. Because the pasuk does say that the din of Shivas Yom Techlu Matzis and Narechel Chametz is also part of what? Of Zochas Yom Hazeh She'yitzatzim Mitzrayim. Could be. But this is clearly in the Smach de Baalma. There's no question about it. In light of this, I understand that the Mechilta is not here to say Pshat and Psukim. So what's the Mechilta doing? Once he's not trying to say Pshat and Psukim, but rather use Psukim for other ideas, so then I'm going to have to understand how the Mechilta understands these Arba Banim. Then I really have no place for the questions. When he says Arba Banim Dibra Torah, it means to say, as I mentioned, yes, there are 4 biblical characters of types of children. There is Lamais, the children which ask, which are Chachamim, there are Rishayim, we discussed it yesterday, there are Tamim, there are Sheni, there are Lisho, that don't ask and we have to initiate. We know that. That's a given. Now what he's doing is using these psukim, using them in his way. He knows these psukim are dealing with other questions. He's using these psukim almost like piyutim use psukim to use rabbinic language to give your own message. You know, this is not pshat in the pasuk, so you can't ask why did he use this teretz because he's chachma. He's giving you educational advice of how to deal with this. There's a mitzvah he got to lebincha, And there is a ben, and there are 4 types of banim that we know, and the Torah discusses 4 types of banim in a certain context of asking about religion. And he's taking those questions and translating them not to broad religious challenges, but to the night of Pesach. Shilas, which you're going to get to the night of Pesach. So it says the Ben HaChacham is asking, Eides Chukim Mishpatim Pirtei Halachas. That's what he's asking. It's not pshat in the Chumash. But that's the understanding of a Ben HaChacham when he comes to the Seder. He wants to know Hilchas HaPesach. Read the Ritva, he says it mefurish. The Ritva and the Agada, and the Ritva answers, and Chanami, you have to tell him, Kol Digduke Halachas HaPesach, even the Derabbanans. What's the Derabbanans? Ein Machil Machar Pesach HaPikoim is a Din Derabbanah. Right? That's what he writes. It's a Dig Derabbanah. So even Chumash Derabbanah, we also tell him, not just Pirush HaMikros, we tell him Pirtei Halachas of the Hilchas Leil HaSeder. That's what the Ritva writes. Ki Hilchos HaPesach, or he says, Paiseach B'Hilchos HaPesach. Or here's Psach Loi B'Hilchos HaPesach, Ein Maftinach HaPesach HaPikoim. Is that the Ritva? Why only that? Because that's the last Mishnah in Avraham Psachman. That's a Din D'Rabbanan, not even Mikra Din. It means to say you have to tell him everything. So we have a night full of teaching Torah. Once again, so this is the Makkah, the teaching Torah, Hilchas HaPesach, if that's how this, he understands it, is a Kiyum Din of the Mitzvah Halayla. Good, I have no problem with it. But the koch, it doesn't come from the pasuk. That's what you have to say.
Is that what they were doing in the Maaseh?
I don't know what they were doing. Does anybody know what they're doing? Who? What? How do you know what they were doing? I don't know what they were doing. I don't know. Maybe, could be, possible. Telling one to the other. Everything's possible. I'm opening up possibilities. Nothing more than that. I don't know. I can't prove it. All I know from here, I see that there's a key mitzvah of Chacham getting together. You should be oising Hilchos HaPesach. That's the lashon of this mechilta. So if I find Talmidei Chachamim, Chabur Shel Chachamim getting together, I can understand that they fill this idea. It's a possibility. Okay, why not more than Chatzos? Because Rabbi Akiva holds the Pesach is Nechol Kol Halayla. That's not a kasha. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. My problem is that where's the source of all this? The source, if it would be a din of Talmud Torah Nicha, Hilchos Chag B'Chag Nicha, if it's halacha in the Korbanos Nicha, but if it's Shabbos, you have to tell them din D'Rabbanan ve'ein machtirin achar Pesach ha'pikoyim. So if you're talking about Bisman Abayis, it's also a Pirtei Halachos in the Korban. If you're talking Bisman Hazeh, but you're talking really about Afchar HaMatzah, which is actually a Machlekes in Gemara, that ain't a Chanami. That's clearly a din D'Rabbanan in Hilchos Matzah because it's a Zeichel LePesach. That wouldn't be a kiyum din in the korban at all. So whatever it is, this is clearly an asmachta. This is not shot in the pasuk in any fashion, form, or size. So we can't ask any more digduke psukim because you're using the psukim. You're taking the question out of context of what the chumash meant, and you're giving a totally different answer because the answer of the mikra won't answer the question that you have now created in the mouth of the chacham. You've used Lashon HaPasuk to mean a different question than the Pasuk, and obviously for that the Mikra is an answer. The Mikra is talking about someone asking a theological question, so you're giving a theological answer. Chazal decided to use that language to talk about something which is more specific to the night of Pesach, and they saw Hilchos HaPesach. And that the answer is, we'll teach you Avraham Psachim, or I'll teach you Talmud Nishchat, and Ketzat Tzoylin, or Ledvarim, whatever it is. That's what it comes out to be. They're totally using the mikra. This is purely a smachta. Next piece is the next one. What's the Russia? Once again, we know that pasuk is talking about Yom Yudala. The answer is we're using that type of a person, which is a cynical challenger, and rephrasing it in a different sense in order to give a different type of an answer. Why don't you want to use the answer of the pasuk? It's once again, this is an educational advice. This is nish dinim. It's not from the pasuk. This is hatzot chinuch shel tanaim. It's an educated. That's what it is. We have a new type of question. Which means you're very cynical, and he focused on something which we don't know. Lachem v'loy loy. And he's focusing on that. He sees this. This is the ears of the time of the Mechilta, which once again is not what the Mikra meant. Okay, because in the Mikra we don't have that mentioned in the Mikra. No, the Mikra we mention, okay, you're cynical about religion, but at least you should be a mensch. At least have a koras hatayv, not be a kafui toiva. Remember when I was growing up, like the worst sin in Chevron Yeshiva was a kafui toiva. Ooh, the Rebbe used to talk about that endlessly. That was like, you're out, don't even go near me if you're a kafui. Kafui toiva is the worst thing possible. You have no koras hatayv. That's, So that's what we say. It's push it. Yeah, you can't be a kafui toiva. That's the answer. Then is that what the Baal HaGoda is saying? No, because he's out to say that we have to deal with different types of students in different terms, in different ways. He has a different agenda. He's not here to tell the pasuk. That question, that answer had nothing to do with the Leil of Pesach. It was a question on Yudalad B'Nissen. Nothing to do with anything. Okay, so that's a different pasuk. That's a different pasuk. Next thing. We say, Tam, Ma'oimer Mazois. No, we know once again that pasuk is dealing with Kedushas HaBechorah, Pidyon Petach and Arifas HaChamorah, Pidyon Petach Chamorah. And we're translating to mean Mazois, what's happening tonight. Once again, 4 types of kids that you have to deal with. He got the Bircha, he's going to ask, he's clueless. What do we answer? Because he got some what have we done? We used the first pasuk there, because that answers the question. We didn't continue with the continues that this is on the basis of telling me that's why there's Kedushas Bechorah, because that's not pertinent to the question we put into your mouth. It's as simple as that. Finally, Shani De Elisha, it's very easy. We got to Lemincha. No one's asking, so obviously, now normally you would say the mitzvah is, you must say before he asks, or even if he didn't ask. What do we translate? No, he's not capable of asking. That's what we've done. We've created a new character, which is really not muchach in the psukim. Forget the din is that even if he doesn't ask, the halach is you're supposed to. It's a mitzvah. You're not supposed to wait for his question. Pashas the Milta, who says you have to wait for the question in Deraisa? We have no mocker for derech shayla v'tshuva. There is no mocker for derech shayla v'tshuva. It's in a Deraisa level at all. It's at the maximum. It's a din drabana. If at all, it may only been part of the miles hareza meshubach. The way of doing it meshubach is doing derech shayla v'tshuva. We don't have any mocker that derech shayla v'tshuva. Adrabah, the pasuk says v'igata without shayla. That even the Mechilta understands that. The Mechilta the Rajvi also understands that. So that's a bisa b'kutcha. There's no din of derech shayla v'tshuva mi'ikar hadin. It's a heater. Could be it's Rabbanan. Could be it's only. It could be just a part of a kol marbas haparis the meshubach. So there's that too. That's also there. That's a. I say this very, very, very strongly because there are people which make this into a din. One of the nafkaminas between the whole year and Pesach. They make this chiddush loy haya v'loy nivra b'chul. Okay, so what do we have here? So there, I'm trying to release a lot of pressure. That, in other words, I don't look at the time of the Mechilta equals what you call the Baal HaGoda as even trying to honestly explain the psukim. Therefore, when anybody tells me it's just I heard actually last night, my son is a Rosh Yeshiva in a yeshiva in Yerushalayim. I just want to tell you, it's a yeshiva of interesting guys. It's a kibbutz. There's like 50 guys there. They made us see him last night. You hear this? The whole yeshiva finished. Either all of them stuff the psachim in the winter, and that's a lot, or those who are weaker, all of them stuff this Megillah. So it was so beautiful to see them all getting up and saying, Hadron Olach. It was such a kiddush Hashem to see. It was it's only 50 guys getting up and saying, Hadron Olach. So it's a beautiful thing, and that's they mamish learned, and they didn't have bechinas, they just learned. Afterwards, my son verheard them orally. That's this taste was that taste was. That's living the Torah. I like that. So over there, so I was there were speeches there and whatever. So one guy get up and said this whole shtickle Torah on the Haggadah, as usual on the Chacham. He says, "What's the answer? The answer what it says in the Haggadah. You have to continue it with the continuance of the pasuk." So I just couldn't help it. So I kicked my son and says. Ulolam Chumash. Nice drasha, but what the Chazal do it in the Mechilta, it's got nothing to do with that pasuk. That pasuk is something totally different, and one does not connect to the other. The Chazal are using the pasuk for giving educational advice, and that's what the Chumash is doing. Chumash is it's another question with another answer, which is not the story of Leil Pesach. What do I get from this Mechilta? And that's what's very important. I get from this Mechilta, at least according to the Baal HaGoda, that he doesn't think that the focus of Leil Pesach is to talk about theology. He translates it into Pirtei Halachas, literally of the Yom Tov. The raya is what he does with the Ben HaChacham. Otherwise, why doesn't he simply say Ma'is Achuk Mishpatim? Why are we Mikabel O Malchus Shemayim? That's a theme also for Leil Pesach. And the answer should be what the pasuk says. Why would he take, if that theme is the theme of the evening, so then why would he change that? The Chmuchach from the Mechilta, by the fact that he's totally convoluting the pasuk, or even taking example, what's he doing? And that's a perfect pasuk. Why are we religious? And the answer is, why are we religious? Because God took us out of Egypt when we encountered God, and that's why we're religious. Wouldn't that be a great theme for Leil Pesach? It would seem to be a primary thing. But the Tana Mechilta doesn't agree with that. That's what I'm trying to say. If the Tana Mechilta would agree with that, then he wouldn't tear up the Ben HaChacham, he would leave the Ben HaChacham the way it is. Mechiteshi, to take away the pasuk of Ben HaChacham and translate it as an asmachta for halachas. What do you want from it? No, the questions of faith, and the answer, you should have given the whole answer, the whole two psukim there, not to give a totally different answer. L'chayr, when the Tana Mechilta does that, what he's saying is that's the theme is supposed to be very, very locally Mitzrayim oriented / Hilchas HaPesach oriented, and not to talk about Mar Nevuchim. Because if that would be the theme, why would he take it? Lama ya'akor et mikra and use the mikra for some totally other halacha, unless he wants to say a chiddush. Loi zuhav's not obviously the pshat. You all know. So you all know the chumash. I want to tell you, even this nu, as one would say, I think that you would say a nu. That would be hard to accept. Why would you be oiker b'pshuta? You saw what you're doing with everything. No reason to say that.
If the pasuk on the mitzvah.
No, it isn't a mitzvah on Leil Pesach. Look at the pasuk. What? But that's another pasuk. That's in Shmos Yud Gimel, and that's in Dvorim Vav. But who says that pasuk has anything to do with it? What did the pasuk in Dvorim have to do with that?
But I don't understand how the Tana Mechilta could say that there's a mitzvah to go into the Pratei Dinim. If the pasuk just says.
I think he just said it's very clear to me that Kabbalah Haya B'Yodam, either it's a halacha in Zois Tois HaKorban, which I can understand, or they had B'Kabbalasim that includes also that. Why? Because all the halachas of Schor, it's a mitzvah of Schor Yom Hazeh. So everything which comes out of Yom Hazeh is part of Vigat Lebincha. This is a Zechitzias Mitzrayim, and part of that is the Hilchas Pesach. Shivas Yachim. Look at the Chumash. It said that Isser Chametz, Kiyam Matzah, Shivas Yamim, all that is a kiyam of Zchor Yom Hazeh Shivas Mitzrayim. And since we learned that Vigata is not a separate mitzvah, only a tzura of the kiyam of Zchor Yom Hazeh Shivas Mitzrayim, I told that before. So Mamela, everything including the Zachar would be part of the conversation. That's where he's coming from. And a simple thing, that's clear, the Rosh. The Rosh says Mefurish and Tshuva, if you saw it, if you didn't, the pity, that in the mitzvah is Zachar, you don't have to say. Only if someone asks you, do you have to tell him. That surah is not ma'akiv in the mitzvah. The mitzvah is betzim mitzvah b'leiv. And I also told you to look up the moral. The moral says more than that. The moral says if you say the agoda, but it doesn't generate, you don't know what you're saying, it doesn't generate zikaron, you weren't mekayim anything. Zogin is garnished. It's a mitzvah sheb'leiv gomer. Okay, just saying, if it doesn't generate a zikaron, it's nothing. That's what he writes before. At the end of the verse, in Samach Beis, I think. Verse Hashem is a sefer of the moral on Yitzias Mitzrayim. It's in that thing that I sent you. I don't know, did you give it to the other people? So it's in there. You'll look at there, and on the piece on the Rush, so there's a Marmakim there. There's a lot of Marmakim there. It's just a Rishim. It's my notebook. It's not an article. It's my notebook. Okay, so there you have it. There. You'll see that the moral says the same thing. So what do you want? That's how the Chazal had Kach Kabbalah Hoya B'Yodam. This is included in the mitzvah. I have no problem with that. But if that's the case, the makar isn't the pasuk. The pasuk just nasmach the be'alma. Now, why would you want to say X and use a pasuk as a smachta if the pasuk itself kipshuta actually has what to say as far as Chacham, Rasha, etc. Bishlema, the second member of the Sifri, where he says, Minayim, the Chiddush, that we have to be oising in Chus Pesach. Oh, you're bringing this pasuk as an asmachta. But when you just want to say, Abba Bonim Dibra Torah about the Leil Pesach, why don't you just use the pasuk Pshuta by the Chacham? Obviously, he thinks that the theme of the night is not to focus on foundations of faith. It's specifically to talk about Yitzias Mitzrayim / the whatever it is, the halachas of Pesach and Pesach. What?
What about Yitzias Mitzrayim exactly?
I don't understand the question.
Just discuss what happened, what you left.
whatever it says you're supposed to do. What's the problem? Yeah, discuss what happened, whatever it is. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Why, man, you can do it at every level. You know what the mitzvah is. The mitzvah is to elaborate, to say one of two. Period. That's the mitzvah. You were if you understood that in depth and in scope, you did very well. The Reza Meshubach is to be darshan the 4 psukim of Avrami, Ovid, Avi, etc. I'm going to read that in Rambam soon again. Just that we did that already, but I will reiterate in 2 minutes. Okay, 1 minute. So the Chayre, the Mechilta, seems to be quite clear. Seems to be saying that the mitzvah hayom is not to deal with theology. That's what I'm trying to say. Otherwise, Mechitesi, why would we oiker? Why wouldn't you use that for the question and the answer of the Ben HaChacham? If the pshat is he's coming to be mechadish, the chiddush that even halach is a part of it, that's a different memra. That's the memra of Rebbe Eliezer. That's the last memra in the Mechilta. But the Abba Banim is already something totally different. So you're not coming to be mechadish that. You come to just come typifying for Banim and Vihigarta. No. So why don't you use the pasuk Pshutai? Bishlema on the Tam, it says Mazois, which is talking about, so to speak, about the B'choyer. So listen, so he wants to bring the question closer to mitzvah sayyim. Mazois to Seder, the avodah sayyim. And the answer, we cut away the pasuk of B'chor, because that's not the focus. I know why he's doing that. That makes sense. Okay? But if you're asking the broad question, why are we mekabel malchus shamayim, that should be the theme. From the Mechilta, it's Mavur. It's not this Tana didn't think so. Now let's see another Tana. The other Tana is brought in the Sefer HaMitzvahs. It's a Mechilta de Rashbi. In the Sefer HaMitzvahs, he writes in source Yud, if you want to go down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 lines, the line starts with Koloimar. You go to the last 3 words of the line. Loshe Mechilta de Rashbi. Michlal shenemar, we already have a Mechilta de Rashbi. I don't need a Medrash Gadol anymore. Michlal shenemar, Medrash Gadol is a dubious book. We're not even sure whether it was printed by Rav Kasher, a manuscript, but many people are not sure where this was. The Rambam quotes constantly Midrashim. So it happens to be a lot of these Midrashim were found in that book. But quite a few literary critics think that someone took all the odd Midrashim of the Rambam and made a book. So are we talking about the Sibur that they saw here, okay? But Mechilta de Rashbi we have. Okay, we have Mechilta de Rashbi. That stands on its own. It's another book. It's Rashbi. It's the school of Rashbi. Mechilta, Stam Mechilta is Mechilta Rabbi Shmuel. You know, I remember once I was in the library in Hebrew, and some old yeki says, Ahim yesh lechem Mechilta she Dr. Yishmael. Dear Reb is Daled Reish. Dr. Yishmael. I'll never forget that. I was rolling. So this is Mechilta. You have Dr. Yishmael's Mechilta. Okay, so, and this is the Mechilta of Dr. Shimon Bar Yochai. Okay, that's sometimes anecdotes that you picked up when you were young. So this is it. So it says the Lush of Mechilta of Dr. Shevi. What does it say? It says, Michlal shene'amar ki yishalcha bincha. Where's that pasuk? Ki yishal b'cha bincha. There's 2 psukim. One starts v'ayok ki yishalcha bincha, and one is ki yishalcha bincha. Which one is it? Go back to the first page. Source Zayin pasuk Yadad v'ayok ki yishalcha bincha, and then there's source Ches ki yishalcha bincha machar. So I'm guessing here when if he would have he meant the second source because it doesn't start v'haya since he didn't mention the word v'haya. So we know we're talking about the pasuk in Dvarim Vav. Okay? Mikra shenemar ki yishalcha bincha. Yachol im yishalcha ata magid lo v'im lav en eta magid lo. Talmud lomar v'igata lebincha af al pi she'en shulcha eno shulcha af al pi she'eno shulcha. V'shteida. Now here's the Chayre Appel. We have no reason to say that the Mechilta de Rashbi also is doing Asmachtas Ba'alma because here we're talking in Ikar Adin. And this drush is brought down in Rambam and Yad and Perik Zayin. That's the makkah, there's the halacha that if he, it's not just if he has, but even if he says it on himself. So l'chayr v'shtei. Here we're talking about Leil Pesach, and we're bringing the pasuk of Ki Yishalcha Bincha. This is not an asmachta. This is an ikar din sadrasha. Well, if it's an ikar din sadrasha, what's the shaila that we're talking about? We're asking the theological question found in the pasuk in Dvarim. Why do we have kabbalah mitzvahs? And that, the Gemara says, we would have thought that's only if he asks, that's when you do it on the Leil Pesach. And if not, on Leil Pesach, you don't have to do it. So he says, no, because the pasuk says, V'igata lebincha. What does that mean to say? V'igata lebincha means to say, Talmud Lama, V'igata im lav ein ata, magid loy. What's the lashon magid loy? Not oimer loy, because we're coming from the word of V'igata lebincha. Right? We're saying we would have thought the Yishalcha bincha is a gila milsa on V'igata lebincha, that V'igata lebincha is only derech shayla v'tshuva dafka. And that he says, Tamulem v'igata lebincha af al pi sheino shalcha. Since the pasuk doesn't say it over there in that parsha, we take for granted there is a tzura of v'igata, of shayla, and then v'igata, and there's also v'igata, which is free of a shayla. Why would we think that the mitzvah of Zachar Shem Hazeh, which is tzuras v'igata, demands dafka a shayla and smiakiv? And the pasuk says, no, it's not. Why would we think it's miyakiv? That's an interesting question. And as we would have thought that the pasuk of Ki Shalcha Bincha, not Ki Shalcha Bincha in Dvarim Vav, is a gilui milsa that when it says V'igata, it must be only derech shayla. Why? Yeah, but that's talking about theology, for goodness sakes.
I would say that applies everywhere. Anytime
Are you like funny? I fail to understand, because there's a halacha when it comes to theology, the Gemara says if a child will ask, you have to answer, therefore you can't tell them the story of Egypt without, what does one get to the other? I'm trying to figure out, that's how it works, always in the Chumash. Something is found by Klaim, there's in the Streifa, does that mean there's in the Streifa everywhere? I'm trying to understand, how do you work? I don't know what you're talking about. Which mitzvah is it over there in Dvarim? Which mitzvah is it? What mitzvah is in Mekayim in Dvarim Vav? What? What? No, it's about asking why are we religious. Which mitzvah is the father Mekayim there? Which mitzvah? Which mitzvah is it? Which mitzvah is it? We'll call it X at the moment. V'igata lebincha, which mitzvah is it? Good. So why do you equate one mitzvah to the other? More than that, did that pasuk talk about a language of mitzvah in Dvarim Vav, or is it a suggestion? Is that a religious imperative in Dvarim Vav? You want to read that pasuk again? Does it mention you have to do it this way? What's that pasuk saying? Hey, Bloom, come on, read. Yeah, okay. Is there a pasuk there? Is there a chiyuv there? Is there a mitzvah there? Here's the pasuk Zachar, that's a tzivui, and then V'igata is a tzur of that Zachar. Where do you have that? Is that the most maximum mitzvah or maybe Talmud Torah? That's all. If it out, okay. The mitzvah you call chinuch doesn't exist. There's no such mitzvah called chinuch. The mitzvah is those are the mitzvahs. We're looking at the pure halachic sense. So what's that got to do A with B? Maybe we should say Vagisu Yom V'Layla, so didn't we got the bincha also be Yom V'Layla? That's your logic, right? You extend all pure halachas from one mitzvah to the other freely. Does that work? Okay, just on that. So obviously it doesn't work. So we erased that, right? Good, thank God. Okay, that's not even on the page. So what's muchach from this idea that we do see equate them? Now that that's not possible, so what allows the Bechilta Derashvi to equate and think that the V'igata will be interpreted only through Ki Yishalcha? Now we have to ask the question, and we need a special understanding. No, it's not that way. It's not that we didn't know the pasuk of Haggadah because he uses the lashon magid lay, right? He says imu shalcha magid lay. Why does he say the word magid? Because he's using the pasuk of V'igata lebincha. Whether you knew the pasuk, yet you thought the pasuk of V'igata is going to be determined by Ki Yishalcha and Dvarim. And it says, no, since they are not together, the V'igata stands on its own. It teaches us we do whatever we did in Dvarim alone without asking a question. That's the Pashut Pshat. May I suggest you listen, maybe you'll finally get an understanding of this. I'm going to repeat it again. For whatever reason, you equated V'yigadta of Ki Yishalcha in Dvarim to be the theme of V'yigadta in Leil Pesach. And therefore, now you knew the pasuk V'yigadta, you see the language of the Bechut Rashbi, Yachal im Shoyloi Magid Loi. Why would he use the verb Magid as opposed to Mesaper or Oimer, where we normally do, which all the psukim V'yamarta love. The pasuk in Dvarim is V'yamarta. Why would he use the word Magid Loi? Because he's referring to the pasuk of what? Of V'ageta Lebincha. In other words, what's he saying? That that pasuk in Dvarim is being Megala, what V'ageta Lebincha is. It's Dafka with Derech Shaila. Why would that be true? Because the themes are the same. Because he understands the theme of what you do, so to speak, during the year. If he asks, that's the theme that we talk about on Leil Pesach. And since that theme is brought down specifically Derech Shaila, we would have thought we don't introduce this theme unless the child asks the question. And the Pasuk says, no. The Chiddush, by the fact that V'yigadta is written independently, we don't look at it as being influenced from V'yigadta, from Ki Yishalcha in Dvarim Vav. We see it independent, saying that although he doesn't ask, we do initiate this conversation. This only works. This only works if the themes are the same. If the themes are not the same, this doesn't work. There's no way A would influence B. It's only if the themes are the same and you have a logic of saying, therefore, this type of a theme should logically be predicated by a question. Now, what kind of theme do you suggest not to open up before predicated by a question? I hate to say the honest truth. Deep philosophical questions challenging or asking the foundations of faith need a mature thinker, usually one that is already open to a question. Because religious thought demands an inquisitive mind which is capable of dealing and asking and not just, without that, do yourself a favor, do what mommy did. So one would have thought one does not introduce the dilemmas of the philosophy of religion prior to some kind of a mature, inquisitive mind, expressed by a question, which is the Ben HaChacham. And that we understood, l'chayra, that would be the halacha. And therefore we would have thought that, if that's the theme of the evening, then Ki Yishalcha is a ma'akev. And then Ki Yishalcha is a megala on V'yigadta. And that Chazal say no, by the fact that V'yigadta is independent, not written, predicated with the Ki Yishalcha, as opposed to what? All the other things that we saw by Pchor and by this. No, the Pasuk is explicitly saying, no, use the din of V'yigadta to initiate this kind of conversation, not to wait for a question. Then this mechilta makes sense. Lasha mechilta michlal shenema ki yishalcha bincha yochli bishalcha tamagid v'imlav en tamagid loy Talmud loy mavigat lebincha afa pi shein l'sholcha. Although he doesn't ask you, where's the nekudas of chiddush? Very pashit. It's quite a decent chiddush. Ivashtei according to the mechilta, that the theme of the evening is dealing with foundations of faith. So what I have is l'chayre machlekes in Tanoim. To nishtam the mechilta de Rabbi Shmuel and the mechilta de Rashbi. Okay, I don't want to say mechilta de Rabbi Shmuel and Rashbi. Mechilta dim doesn't mean his; it means his school. Okay, the Bei Rabbi Shmuel is like Sifri the Bei Rav. That means the Chesemis of Rav is the Bei Rav. Okay, I hope you know that by now. Okay, so this is if that's the case, so you must understand that there's a machlekes in schools of thought in Tanoim. Whether Haggadah, the Mikra, copying that Mechilta, not copying the Mechilta de Rashbi. But what we have clearly, it's interesting to see I'm showing you how this is reflected in Halacha L'maisa for a moment. But this is l'chayr, what's happening here is the theme of the evening theology, and therefore we can equate it to V'yigadta, to the Shalcha Bincha and Dvarim Vav, or the theme of the evening first and foremost, specifically focusing on the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim for itself, and obviously on the mitzvahs around it. Let's go a little further. Because once we say we got to Lebincha, we're not trying to see it in the broad context. We're only looking literal in itself. It only says Lebincha, so maybe there's no mitzvah out of it. Talmud Mitzrayim. In those, no, because we understand it's only a tzura of the broad mitzvah of Zachar. Don't see V'yigadta as a separate mitzvah. It is in a certain context. It's connected to 4 psukim before the mitzvah of Zachar. And therefore, what does that mean? Okay, so here the Rambam understands it means you have to say it b'peh. This is a machlekes between the Rosh and the Rambam. The Rosh believes that La'atzma, he doesn't have to say anything, he can think. The Rambam believes that even La'atzma, he has to at least articulate and say. That's what he says. It's like Zachar Yom Shabbos Likacho. That's a halacha of Kiddush B'peh. Anybody who learns the Gemara knows that. Okay? That's a din. Now, is that a din deraisa or derabbanan? Kemen kleren. Not going there. But that's what the Rambam is saying when he brings Gemara Shomer Zachar Yom Shabbos Likacho. As to the place Lisker Ma'isa Miriam, it's only Belev. That you know. Okay? Zachar, to remember different things. The Sheish Zechirus there. So the only ones that you have to have B'peh, L'maisa, are what? Shabbos and Amalek. Those are the two things that you have a din of Peh. Even more, those are drushes, because Likacha is also Mashma Maisa, Kedushas Peh. That's what it comes out to be. But otherwise, Stam Zachar means to say, so he learns also, Yetzias Mitzrayim is B'peh. Here he adds words. That's the Chayra Apella. What does it knowing Kachim and Tyrus or Cheshemish would have to do with this? He adds the word Kula, and one has to understand what that means. Bishtem, if you know all, you know Kol HaTorah, that means you know all the Inyanim of Yetzias Mitzrayim. For that, you only have to know it the most. If you want to learn Psachim, B'vakasha, and the Mikros. What's this Kol HaTorah Kula? How exactly does Gittin help you in the Kiyum Din of Yetzias Mitzrayim that you would have thought that you're potter? What's it Kol HaTorah Kula do? It's a Pashut Agad Shabbos. That's which is done at this night. If you know Kol HaTorah Kula, you have a deeper, profounder understanding. Now, you could say, because in Lumdis, if you know all of Shas, and even any Svar and Chometzes, you have a Pirchav somewhere. It's true, but it's very limited. Believe me, at the end of the day. You don't need Mesechtes Orla to understand Mesechtes Gittin. Sign off. Okay? Definitely not for Sipias Yetzias Mitzrayim. Zaymer Moichel, you know what I mean? Uksin doesn't touch it. Okay? So what are we talking about? What's mean Kol HaTorah Kula? Are we going to erase the Grois and Magia on that, by the way? What's this? It's only if you understand that the question in front of you is the theological issue, then it's a bisa bekutcha. That l'havin ma'aseh Hashem is not just you know his Torah, you understand who he is and what his mindset is and what his values are. As we learned multiple times in Mishnah Saramban. Knowing Kol HaTorah Kula allows you to distill and understand who is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That I begin to understand. So Dafka, this gears of Kol HaTorah Kula fits beautifully in that Mishnah with the Michil to the Rashbi, that the focus of the evening is not just telling you Sipri Yetzias Mitzrayim, but Dafka going to using Sipri Yetzias Mitzrayim as a platform for theological discourse of Yedias Hashem. Now this is the Chayr Muchach in the Rambam, Shita La'alacha. Where's it Muchach in the Rambam, Shita La'alacha? The Rambam writes in Source Yud Aleph, Mitzvahs HaSeishel Torah l'saper b'nisim v'niflot shenasla v'senim Mitzrayim b'lecha mishoser b'nisim shenemer zochas yem hazeh shetzosem Mitzrayim. The first in Rambam, the mitzvah is zocher. And he writes, K'mo shenemer zochas yem HaShabbos. What's he doing? There's no Gemara that says this. This equation is not a Gemara anywhere, no areas. It's his Isopha, just like it was Meissen Sefer HaMitzvah. He wants to put that zocher means with a Meissen. U'minayin sheb'lecha mishoser, that's him Echilta. Talmud Lein v'higat lebincha b'yom uleim b'avuzeh b'shosh yishmat sumah munachim lefanecha. This is mamash what you saw in the Sefer HaMitzvah. This only tells you that the v'higata is a kiyum or a tzura of the zocher. That's what I pointed out before. It's ein chanami, a big shaila in Rishonim why there's no bracha on the Agadah. Big shaila in himself. If you know, most shittas Rishonim end up by saying, because we're mekayim it either with the saying the Kiddush, or you're mekayim it with Birchas Krishma, the Birchas Brachas Achronis of Kriyashma by Ma'ariv. You're in mekayim it to sayayim, you understand? But definitely not derech shaila b'tshuva, to say the least. You're not derech anything. You remember whatever you said to you, when you said you told the stories of Kriyas Yamsin and Yetzias Mitzrayim, and before you ended Gal Yisrael, you're mekayim it to sayayim. You look at the Rishonim, I said that Rishima that you have, you'll see Rav Kmat Kulam. Okay, it's unbelievable what's over there. So you have to understand that what's this? Dichanish derech shaila b'tshuva, to say the least. There's actually no specific nusach. Even the nusach for Rami Ovid Avim is not a ikar din deraisa. It's a din derabbanan to you to be kind of the mitzvah in that way. Okay, even to say Arami Ovid Avi is a din derabbanan how to say it. There's no mikra to say it. There's a remez in the mikra. The Simcha writes in our Sameach when it says Vanisa v'amarta. Vanisa means when it says lechem oini. The Gemara says lechem she'oinim olav dvarim harbe. What does oinim mean? The answer? Nah, come on, man. Moshe yadaber lekim yanenu b'kol. I didn't Moshe ask questions. What's the mean oinim? It means l'daber b'kol ram. I hope you know that. You should know that. Vanisa v'amarta means you have to talk loud. You have to talk b'kol ram. What's make kol ram? State in the meiri kidaber isha re'eyu. You don't have to scream. Some of these people think that Birchas Kohanim, they speak loud, you know. You talk to people that way. That's Amaratzis, as usual. They didn't learn Meiri and Soita. Kol Ram means to say you talk Kedaber Isha Re'eo. So when these people bellow out Birchas Kohanim, they talk that way to people too. Otherwise, they don't understand what they're doing. Or they don't know Meiri, so you should learn Meiri. It's important to learn Meiri. It's told you have to read. Read, don't know. Okay, state b'kol ram. That's the Kedaber Isha Re'eo. That's the halach. Okay, so what happened? Moshe Yadaber v'Elokim Yanenu. What did he answer them? B'kol ram. So I mean, he spoke to him loudly. So the Rebbe Simcha says, where is there a pasuk in Chumash which we're supposed to say b'kol ram? So it said, V'Anisa v'Amarta Arami Ovid Avi. Those psukim are mikra b'kurim. There's also a din v'Anisa. Lechem she'oinim olav dvarim harbe means lechem that we have to talk. We say things b'kol ram. Which parsha in the Torah do you have to say b'kol ram? V'Anisa v'Amarta Arami Ovid Avi. So he brings that's a smach. Obviously, it's a din derabbanan. So he created his own smach to Rebbe Simcha. It's cute. So it is. The problem is halacha it doesn't work. Because if that would be true, there would be halacha of kol ram. You wouldn't be yotze shemei koina. And before she Gemara and Psachim that we yotze shemei koina with their balagod. So it's a cute little smachtele, but it's wrong. As usual, what can you do?
Isn't shemei koina being the kol ram? So
You don't chop very well as usual. Again, if it says Vanisa, you have to say b'kol ram. The shemei koina.
Kivanisa, because the word is
Yeah, once you think your words are not thinking. Let me ask you a question. I say someone's pregnant, like someone is like pregnant. What does it like pregnant mean? What does it mean? It means he looks like me, right? I don't have a fetus, I promise you. Okay? So now, I want to say, now repeat your question. Shomea ke'oine. Do you still have a question? It's yes or no?
He's not literally saying it.
Yeah, so what do you want? That's exactly it. It's a silent talking. The person which is silent and attentive is as if he would have spoken loudly. As if. I like the word. It's like you're pregnant. Think. It's not even, the question doesn't, it's comical. Question doesn't start. Okay? Forget, that's the whole shmooze. If there's any shmooze in the Paiskim, big shayla, whether yotze shemei koina, big birchas koinim, one of the problems is the Rogatchover writes, you can't be yotze because it says, you have to daven b'kol ram. So this is what the Rama writes. The Rama writes is a mitzvah, so it's clear from here it's a mitzvah of Zachar, and there's a tzura of Yigata. Then what does he write? I mentioned it's a different class. The Rama points out you have to remember what Nisim and Neflos are. I remember saying this in 2 minutes. Nisim are supernatural phenomena. If you look in the Makos, it's only Dam and Borod. And all the other 8 of them are basically not niflos. They're pella. They're really wonderful manipulation of nature, but they are not supernatural. They don't defy the laws of physics. Okay, so they are called niflos. So because the Rambam points out that we should underline and understand the nisim versus the niflos. He also says we have to be marked with verb she'iru v'shahayu. Iru means occurrences, and hayu means situations. When you put one next to the other, talking about 2 things, it's very important to understand what you have to do. You must talk about the situation there and the occurrences in the situation. You have to underline what is a pella, what is a nest. These are important things. Now, obviously, what's the purpose of all this underlining things in the night of Pesach? The Rambam continues and says, Halacha Beis, mitzvah lo idea lebanim afil lo shalu, shenemer v'gata lebincha. That's what we just learned. The Mechilta de Rashbi, lefi daita sheben aviv melamdoi, keitzad im haya katan o tipesh, 2 possibilities. Either he's a child or he may be an adult fool. Omer lo, he says to him, Bni, kulanu ayinu avadim k'mo shivcha zu, o k'mo eved zev Mitzrayim, u'balal zeh padatan HaKadosh Baruch Hu yetzeinu lecheres. Now that's very interesting. In other words, we don't have to, the bottom basement, I would say, the bottom line, that the minimum that has to be taught is not the afflictions of Egypt, not the bad time, not the Iru and the Hayu, not even the Nisim and the Naflos, okay? Nothing, not even, definitely nothing to do with Matan Torah or anything like that. no theology. The bottom basement is we were slaves and now we're free. And since the child has no clue of slavery, as you don't, how would you know what slavery is? You know about death camps, maybe. You know about other people. You know what slavery. Slavery, we're not talking about a slave which is in a bad place, like the guys that were kidnapped in Ghana and put on slave ships, you know. No. Eved zeh v'shifcha zu means, and she's doing well. She's my Eved and my shifcha. Baruch Hashem, she's dressed in silk. You know what I mean? She has her funny hat and the apron. She's doing good. She lives down I'm on the upstairs of the staircase, and she's the down staircase, you know, the up and down staircase. That's what you have here. It's like a Victorian mansion. He's the butler, and you're the balaboos. That's an Eved. Okay, that's what we have to point out. So it's very important to know. It actually means to focus on the transition from slavery to freedom, something which none of us do on Leil Pesach. We talk about affliction, terrible slavery. We think of the slave ships, you know, coming, and people dying in slave ships. We think about Roman slaves, which are tied to the oars. We think about the slaves in Auschwitz or work camps, things like that. No. According to Rambam, it means a well-fed, well-nourished, taken care of, actually a very nice slave. Like the guy that says, "Ahavtis ishti es bonai." This we're talking about, right? Avda shel kotzin. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about Avda shel kotzin, Yerushalmi, right? We're talking the transition from being Avda shel kotzin. He doesn't mention, and we had a bad time there. Look at the Rambam. Kulanu yunu avadim k'mo shivcha zu k'mo eved zeh. I want to understand. You walked out of the Seder, you were, let's say, 12 years old. No, okay, you're 12 years old. Okay. What was in your mind? The fact that you have the value of freedom versus slavery? Or did you say, no one's hitting me in the back? And I'm going to tell you the latter is what you walked out with. Okay? Well, you didn't have an appreciation of democracy, okay? You weren't going to Philly to look at the bell, okay? It's not what you came out with the night of Pesach. Excuse me. You came out, no one's hitting me, no one's whipping me, no one's throwing my babies into the river. That's what you're thinking of. You're thinking we got out of the Nazis, okay? I don't think you came out of there, Dad pushed on you, and he's a good guy, right? The idea of freedom is a value of its own versus slavery. I don't think in Lomdus it works, nichlal, use the Hebrew word, but practically speaking as an educator, unless you underline that and discuss that, the child will not, the adult won't hear it. How many people, I don't even want to do this here, this is not what I wanted to do here, that's another place for this, but honestly, you tell me the value of freedom versus slavery, and explain it to a mature adult, without any bad, official kotzin. Yeah, sit down and think about it. And that's what you're supposed to, definitely has to be a theme in the Seder. Without that, you're missing the boat. Okay, and I suggest that most of the literature we have does not deal with that. I don't know any literature that deals with that. I wrote my own literature. Okay, literally, for that you just have, and in other you read Alex Haley's Roots, it won't help. Because that's about horrendous slavery. Right? What?
Not all of it. There's
Yeah, the beginning, man. Blah. You know what I mean? What's your name? Kunta Kinte. You know, whatever it is. What was it called? Jody, I forgot his name already. What was it called?
George.
No, that was the anicle. No, what was he called? They gave him a name. I forgot already. See, I haven't read it for 20 years, 30 years. Okay, whatever. Don't keep. Just want to understand this. It's a never. You have to really think, because most depictions we have of slavery are ugly slavery. Okay. And according to the Rambam, no, you got to walk away from. You have to define slavery, the value of freedom versus slavery. Think of slavery as avda shel kotzin. I love that Gemara in Gittin. It really helps me a lot here. Right? Okay, that Rajba, Taisus actually, right? Define that difference. Give a value for freedom. You know, so you can always think of Woodstock. Richie Havens had a song on freedom. You know what I mean? What's mean freedom? What's mean Zaina ben Chayrin versus Zaina Eved? Should I tell you the difference? Because an Eved is a Chefzer and a ben Chayrin is a Gavra. A ben Chayrin doesn't have an I. He's an extension of someone else's I. Therefore, he can't take responsibility. He doesn't make his schedule. He has no responsibility at all. The brain behind him is X, and you're nothing more than the Chefzer. You're the saw, you're the hammer, you're the chisel. Freedom means now you're a person which has to, you pay your dues, man. You are now a person which has to make your own decisions. That's the difference. No, is that a theme that they told you in the Leil Pesach? I don't think so. Okay, so that's first of all in Rambam. The minimum halacha is to define the value of freedom versus slavery, even Abdesh Kotzen. Let's go further, okay? Is that clear? I think it's clear. Okay, weiter. So he says, "Kamay shivcha zu, kamay evet ze b'Mitzrayim, u'balay lazeh podo etzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'yotzeinu lecheirus." Adkan doesn't say Torah, doesn't say religion, doesn't say v'yanunu and all those other stuff. No, the kid's too young for that. Forget you and tell them horror stories. You buy Barry Chait's Haggadah with these terrible pictures of kids stuck in the wall looking like this. You know what I mean? I always said it's pretty crazy to stick a kid in the wall. He's organic matter. He's going to decay. And then you're going to have holes there that you're not going to be able to fill. So you got to be pretty stupid to do that. If you really think it happened, then they were pretty stupid. Okay? Did you ever try that? Don't think it would work. Okay? So it obviously didn't happen. It's a metaphor. If you don't understand that, do me a favor. Okay? Like, it also didn't come out. So Barry Chait has the Haggadah where they like sunflower seeds. They go in the earth at night and come out popping in the morning. Like Jack and the Beanstalk, says God. So the morale on this, right? So everybody takes this literally, he says, needs his head checked. That mamish, the morale on this says this. Morale says on this, you take this literally, you're an idiot. Mamish, the morale says on this. It's a mashal. Why are you making like that? Someone said it? A rabbi? An intelligent rabbi? Well, maybe he's the morale's goylem. Because the morale literally says that they take this literally. He says, on this nest, he writes that. You should link verse Hashem. He's a very intelligent man, the morale. He's the man which introduced the possibility of understanding Haggadahs intelligently for the Western mind. Hello, I'm Orthodox. Weiter. I am. I promise I am. Weiter. Maybe I'm the morale's goylem. Okay, stalking the world. Right, is was steht da? The imay ben gadol v'chacham. If he's an adult and he's intelligent, my dear, then he tells him another thing. Mashi'ira b'Mitzrayim. Yeah, the occurrences in Egypt. We had a hard time there. V'nisim shenasa lana de Moshe Rabbeinu, and the good thing and the miracles that happened. Hakol if he died to Shulben. So in others, the chatchila for a young child, you don't discuss the horror stories. And you don't even mention God and Nisim, just appreciate God giving you freedom. That's the bottom baseline that everyone has to be able to do. Now, the more mature you are, you build on that so much more and give it so much color. Then he writes, and this is important halacha. I'll go to the Gemara and we'll see what this is coming from. The Gemara says in Psachim, in source, go to page 2, the first column, the first paragraph. And you go down 4 lines in that paragraph. The line says "Madbil nafil pamachas," and you have the last 2 words there. Maschil b'gnus u'mesayim b'shvach. Okay, I've seen articles written by a profound rabbinic persona, which a personae, rabbim, with an e at the end. Okay, that think that the pshat like this, we all have to end with Yetzias Mitzrayim. The question is where we start from. Do we start from the history of our forefathers, that they were, pagans? Or do we start just with the Avodah Mayinu? Because the Gemara doesn't say how you end, it only says how you start. Masra b'kinus, look at the Gemara, u'misayim b'shvach. What's the shvach? It doesn't say. So he says, "My bignus." That's what the Gemara asked. The Gemara asked, "Rab Amar mitchila avdavar zagzulim hayav yiseinu." Period. Ushmul Amar avodah mayinu. Period. It doesn't say Messiah b'shvach differently. So l'chayra, there was place for these rabbinic personae to say the machlek is where we start the narrative. We start by our low spiritual, almost decadent existence. And God took us out of bondage. That means we were jerks and God was nice to us. That's what it means. Or no, we don't describe the spiritual reality. We just go immediately to the bondage and the freedom. Okay. That is, and yes, I know that I know that this exists, and I can understand where they're coming from. But the problem is that Maimonides doesn't agree. Maimonides writes in Hilchos Chametz U'Matzah here in the same page on the left column, the first halacha Dalet. V'tzorach la'aschil b'knus u'Mesayim b'shvach. Ketzad. Here he says how to do it. Matchil u'mesaper שבתחילה היו אבותינו בימי תרח ומלפניו כופרים וטועים אחר ההבל ורודפים אחר עבודה זרה. And how do you end that story? Nothing to do with Egypt. ומסיים בדת האמת, שקרבנו המקום לו, והבדילנו מן הטעים וקרבנו לייחודו. That's the story. The transition from paganism to monotheism is the story. It's an independent story. It's a theme. Then there's a word there called v'chein. What does v'chein usually mean? When the Rambam brings two things as a and v'chein and also. When you say and also, you're saying it has secondary importance. So, and secondary importance, another theme, Matchil, he starts, Umodia, and he declares, or informs rather, She'avadim ayinu leFaro b'Mitzrayim, that we were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. V'chol ha'rosh malanu, obviously, you know, if you're not ben cotton tipish, so you can talk about kol ha'rosh malanu, all the affliction. U'misayim, how do you end that theme? B'nisim v'niflos shenatzu lanu u'b'cheruseinu. Write that word again. You have to be able to say, A, we were slaves in an afflicted situation, and we have now been redeemed from that affliction, and actually we're even free. So once again, that theme of freedom, the Rambam keeps on saying that. That's because he says, that underlines that theme, that's one thing which is very important for Leil HaSeder. Again, expression, the value of freedom versus slavery without the bad parts of it. And obviously all the things that happen there, that's what we do all night. V'hu, how do we fulfill this? She yidrosh, that he should be doresh, he should elaborate, mi'arami aved avi, ad shigmar kol parsha. That is the kiyum din of Maschil b'knus u'Masayim b'shvach, in the second theme, which is that. Now, it's very interesting. Now, he's clearly not talking about the order of how things are said, because you could look at the Rambam's Haggadah, which is the next line, and he himself knows, at least during his time, you started with Avodim Hayinu as an answer to Manishtana Laila Zeh. If you look carefully there in the associate base, we started in the third paragraph. We already said Avodim Hayinu the way you say it here today. And we finish with until the words probably Meshuvadam Ayinu L'Faro b'Mitzrayim. That's probably where it ends. U'b'cheruseinu, we are free, including even that. Anything happened afterwards is not part of the Ikra de Milsa. Because look at the words of the Rambam before you go further. Go back to Halacha Hey, the last 6 words. V'dvarim ha'elu kulam heim anikreim Haggadah. That which Chazal say, the Gemara Pesachim, that we say Haggadah. Haggadah means what? It literally means, so to speak, it means Mitchil Avodim Hayinu, Arami Avidavi, and then finally Kol Shalom Shlosh Dvarim Ela Pesach Matzah Mor. That's a lachay. Those are the components of what are called Haggadah. Everything afterwards is additions, shirs v'tishbachais, very nice things, but they're not the primary original Tanaic idea of Haggadah. Manuscripts we don't have from that period. All manuscripts we have, almost all, very rare to find anything which isn't similar to, basically very close to what we have today. Look, you can read a good article on that. Haggadah Shlema Rav Kasher in his Agdam has a beautiful article, very long, very learned, about the different manuscripts of Haggadah. You can see it. But that proves nothing if what the Rambam is pointing. The Rambam is presenting an idea that the Haggadah of what's written in the Mishnah doesn't have Hishamda. It doesn't have Ababan Dibur Taira. It doesn't have. That's not Haggadah. Look at what's Haggadah. He says before it was called V'dvarim ha'elu kulam heim anikreim Haggadah. What does that mean? That is the Haggadah found in the Mishnah. That's the Haggadah found in the Gemara. So it doesn't include Visha Amda. It doesn't include all these different things. That's the mitzvah of Haggadah. Even now, the Mishnah itself writes that the child would say Shema Nishtana. Granted, because that's Derech Shayla B'tshuva, but that wasn't the Haggadah. Haggadah is V'yigadet to Labinchas even without that. What do you have to say to the child? And what's that Reza Meshubach? The Rambam writes that Reza Meshubach is not talking about Chad Gadya, or not talking about Lefichach. The Reza Meshubach is what was the Rambam write at the end of Halacha Daled? My Ma'isiv Amar B'drash Parsha Zu of the 4 psukim of Arami Evidavi. So you want to do the Kedina, first isolate what is really the bare bones of the evening, and which is, I'm going to say again, Avodah Mayinu, until the words Mishubanim L'Farm Mitzrayim, Mitchil Avizon V'Achshav Kiron HaMokum Avidasai, 2 sentences, okay? Then, that's A, B, Tzei Ulmad, for Arami Ovid Avi, that goes until the end of those 4 psukim. That's what it's with the Midrashi Mechilta found on those 4. That's actually Sifri. Found on those 4. That's Sifri. That's on those 4 psukim, and that's the Haggadah. And and the Mishnah of Reb Gamliel and Reb Psachim Hayoyim Koshel Emer Shlosh Dvonim Pesach Matzah Mor Pesach Shema, etc. Those 3 things. That's Haggadah. That's and the din of Kol Hamarbel Esapi B'Tzis Mitzrayim is focusing on Drash Parsha Zu. Really doesn't have anything. When you're going to sit down and talk about the Chacham and whatever we spoke about, the Psukim and the Chacham and this, that's not part of that's very nice to do. Do it when you're eating the Kneidlach. But that's not, before Chitzois, be Marich al Drash Parsha Zu. That's your Reza Meshubach. Or, you want to add the Sifri, talking, learning in Hilchas Pesach. Das Verstehe ich euch. Aber sagen Wertlach an die Estchem and the Lachem, that you should do by the Kneidlach, not B'Shas Maisa when you're doing the Haggadah. I mean, if you want to do it, it's at least the way it's Iker Hadin. I'm pointing, that's when people ask you, what's the best Haggadah to use? Learn Rambam. Okay? Learn Rambam. It's probably the best Haggadah to use. You know what to look, then you learn the Rishonim on those Psukim. What's the problem? Then you learn the Mechzas Pri on the Psukim and the other Midrashim on the Psukim and elaborate on what the content of those Psukim are, and that's what you're dealing with. That's the Ikra de Milsa. It just says, Achatzena el Abanim. It doesn't describe what does it mean. I know, Amalenu el Abanim. I know it's a lot of Omel to have a child. What does it mean? Look at the Rishonim. What does it mean? Why are children called Omel? What's the case there? Then you tell the story. What happened to the Banim? Right? So elaboration, that there's a lot to be Marichim on that. But it's Drash Parsha Zu. It's not, what's the Pshat in Holach Ma'anya? Why is it in Aramaic? And what's it called Dichvin? It should have been said before or after. All the things we got in school, Ze Bazbuzbuz Man. That should not be, that's only by the Kneidlach. Okay? Not, or maybe you only eat Eir Lakshin or whatever it is. I don't know if you do Shruya or not. You probably don't do Shruya. Okay? So, you know what I mean? But that's when that has to be done. I'm an old-fashioned Jew. This is old-fashioned orthodoxy. Okay, before the school system messed it up. Okay, so this is the chayra what it is. That's a very important thing to know. So now the chayra quoted in Rambam. What is Rambam telling me? Now in the Seder, it's very clear that Avodah Mayinu, and then you had all these other things which are just obviously later day addition, development. When? I don't know. I don't have manuscripts without it. But it's very clear from Rambam. This happened later. They stuck in this. Why to do it? When to do it? How important it is to be marich. These are all very nice things. That's not the bare bones of the evening. Okay? Where does it start all of a sudden from? Which is page 3. That's when the Haggadah starts again. And then it's very nice. You know what I mean? Actually, you should only know until the words Lavodas. Oh, you know what? Even add that psukim of Yeshua because it elaborates on it. And that's where it ends. Baruch Shem of Techastel Yisrael is right against it. Asher Nezach, telling you you're thanking God for it. Very nice. Now you're telling me He's shown the Lavosenu. That's not the Iker de Milsa. It's supposed to be Kirvanu Lavodasai. Rabbi says Kirvanu Liyichudai. Baruch Shem of Techastel is a writer's edition. We're adding Shvach. Because the Rambam writes in Sefer HaMitzvahs that it's important also to be mahalal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to thank Him. So this is part of the thanksgiving. But that's not Haggadah. Is it thanksgiving a kiyum in the mitzvah salayla? Now there's a new shayla on the table. According to Rambam in Sefer HaChinuch, in Sefer HaMitzvahs, yes, thanksgiving is also part of mitzvah salayla. How do I know that? Because Rambam starts from the very beginning in source Yud. Rambam writes, in the fourth line, last two words, that's very nice to do. So it's a kiyum, right? But that's at the bare bones. The Rambam Yad doesn't mention it. Rambam Sefer Mitzvahs brings in the idea of Haidah as part of the shvach of Mitzvahs Hayyim. That's only Sefer Mitzvahs. In Yad, it's not mentioned. So to make shtik l'chtor, the hal is a kiyum din v'igata, because this Sefer Mitzvahs, when it's not found in the Yad, that some people have done and printed, that's a bit not accurate. To say that, remember that, however, I don't want to say, I always fight with windmills. That's another thing, which is, is there a shame in Sefer Mitzvahs? It's not found in the Yad, so we can't say that is emes la'alocha. Okay? Put that on in your pipes and smoke it. It's a chazorah from Mishnah Torah from Sefer Mitzvahs. It can happen. Okay? Not the million of mitzvahs, because the Rambam reads again in the Agdon and Mishnah Torah, but in Pirtei Halachas it can happen. So this is that's an important Hagdorah. So this is all Shvachta Kadosh Baruch Hu. Afterwards, you have literally Tzei Ma. This is the Abba Psukim that he's talking about. And this goes all the way until, this goes until the 10 Makkos. The Tzachadash Ba'achav. That's where the story ends. Afterwards, for example, Dayenu is already Shvach V'Eidah. The Rambam in Yad doesn't bring that as a Ikra Din. Is it obviously a part of thanking, acknowledging is thanking? So I can understand it's part of integrating the zikor into your mind by appreciating. I can understand how it can fit in. But the Rambam doesn't bring that la'alocha, that Haidah is a part of Avodas Halayla. It's interesting to see that. Okay, so that's what you have in front of you. In light of this, so the Seder was clearly the way, the Seder, the Rambam doesn't tell me what the Seder was Bizman HaMikra. But the only thing is the Gemara, Bizman HaMishnah, but the Gemara says. The Gemara writes Mefurish after the child says Man Nishtana. Mishnah says Mefurish over there, that immediately you say Avodim Hayinu. So we know that was true. We know Avodim Hayinu was the primary answer of the night. Okay, and it's very simple. Because the question answer has to be to the child, which is even a cotton and a tippish. And the basic thing is, Avodim Hayinu l'far Mitzrayim, v'yirtzei Hashem misham b'yad chazaka. That's all. We didn't talk about terrible things. We spoke about transition from slavery to freedom. So that's the first answer. What are you going to start telling them about we were pagans and monotheistics? Mahal nachlish by them. The kid's a child. So as far as sequence, it was very clear that when the child asked the question, we take for granted we're talking about a young child, as today who you think chants this Manishtan and doesn't understand what they're chanting. These little kids in kindergarten. And we have to tell them all about slavery without saying the terrible parts of slavery. I repeat it again. Look at the pasuk in Haggadah. Avodim Hayinu v'yitzein Hashem misham. That's all. It doesn't say it was terrible there. That happens later. And even afterwards it doesn't say. It says, and if we weren't there, we would still be there. We would be slave. We would be avducha ben amosecha. We would be slave, son of a slave, grandson of a slave. Then we would have been slaves. Just like there were slaves in America, there were slaves like, slavery is a normal thing in the biblical periods and also in the Talmudic period. It's a social norm. That's who you are. You would have been a slave. And that's what you have to appreciate. That's not true. But afterwards, what was the primary theme? That's the question. In Rambam, it's very clear that the primary theme is the transition from paganism to monotheism, because that's what he wrote. There are two themes which end in different things. And he starts with, all of the sequence in the Mishnah is starting with Avodim Hayinu. So why would the Rambam write it that way? If not, he's trying to underline that importance. The primary story is that, and also this. Now, for the little child which can't understand that, we're going to do just this. But you should know, ultimately, the goal is this.
But you're not having the mitzvah with the ultimate goal?
No, because obviously you also have to, I'll tell you why. I'll explain. What's the makar of the Rambam that this is the primary ultimate goal? We'll start from there and you'll understand. The makar is a pasuk in Chumash. Right to learn this. It's a pasuk in Chumash. It's a pasuk in Chumash in source Hey. V'yema Hashem el Moshe boy. Oh God, I got to stop now already. Boy el Paro ki ani ichbati es libo v'tleiv avadav. Why? Leman shitio t'tayel lebekir. I want to give signs of my existence. That's what a sign is, right? Os means a sign of my existence. Mofet means a proof, by the way. I'm going to give signs and proof of my existence. Okay? L'man tesaper baznei bincha ben bincha what? Et asher talalti b'Mitzrayim. You're going to tell them the whole terrible, the markers I gave them. Vet ototai shesamti bam, and explain how those terrible things are, those manipulations were actually signs of my existence. What for? What's the goal of this? Last 4 words in bold letters. V'yidatem ki ani Hashem. So you're right. So God tells us the way of using Sipri Yitzis Mitzrayim is that the platform of how God reintroduced himself into our lives, and thus we move from paganism to monotheism. For that, it's too late now, and I'm not going to do this tomorrow, but I suggest you review again, source Yud Gimel, to the end. Then you read source Tesvav, and you read source Chaf, where Rambam and Ramban describe how the Jews were totally pagan, and Yechezkel describes at length, and God reintroduced himself through the Esra HaMakos. So the epic of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim was the reintroduction of the monotheistic, all omnipotent God into the world of paganism. And that's the V'yadat, that's the Maskana. Now, that obviously you can't do with the Yeled Katan. But as soon as you're Gadol, I think you're all Gdolim, and you're not Tipshim, none of you. Therefore, you l'chara are mechuyev to take the epic, the story, to the stage. Okay, and Mamela, this is the God we know, and this is the Kervana L'Yechudai. So that is actually the major theme. It's in light of this, I think this represents the thinking of the Mechilta de Rashbi. When the Mechilta de Rashbi equates the theme of Belial Pesach to the theme of the story in Dvarim Vav, yes, that is the issue. Why do we have this relationship with this God and we have to fill all these things? And the answer is because we introduced to him in Egypt, and therefore it is the right thing to do. And this is literally what God said at Matan Torah. What the words he said, Adoichi Hashem Elokecha, didn't say Shebrasi Shemayim V'Oretz, because you didn't know that. You were pagans. Elamasha says, Zicham Eretz Mitzrayim. That's the famous Ramban at the end of Parshas Bayit. And that's what you're talking about. So this is clearly reflected in the Mechilta de Rashbi. I'm trying to say that it's very clear that although the Nusach HaGodah is what we use in the Nusach of the Mechilta, but in Halacha, what the Rambam is doing by underlining that's the Iker, that's the primary theme, he's obviously pointing out that the Maisa is naked like the Mechilta de Rashbi, and that the theme of the evening is Taka, transition from paganism to monotheism. Using the Sipri Yitzis Mitzrayim as a platform, not just to tell horror stories, but to explain how these Oisais and Maifsim actually reintroduced us to monotheism. You really have to know that Ramban cold, because that's what's supposed to be the story. How did the Maifsim and the Oisais and the Maifsim reintroduce a monotheistic God to a world of paganism? For that, you have to explain to people what paganism really was. So I really think Perek Aleph Hilchos Avodah Zarah is a very, very important read here. As I'm telling you, read that, read the Yechezkel, Chaf, and read that Ramban, and that will be, if you ask me how to prepare for the night of Pesach, those are the 3 real sources. Have a great Yom Tov.